So I'm Professor Heather McGregor. I'm the Executive Dean of Edinburgh Business School, and as well as running the business school, I also take a very active part in teaching and in research within the business school. And my particular area of research is careers and people management, and also the development and the use of what we call social capital. So this lecture today is going to look at the different forms of capital that we all accumulate, and then it's going to hone in on social capital and why it's so important as a manager to understand the kind of relationships that your employees have with each other. So let's start with the kind of capital that we all accumulate. So first of all, there is skills capital, or what we call human capital. Now, the kind of human capital that you accumulate are your skills and your experience. And of course, if you come to Heriot-Watt University, one of the things you'll be doing is building skills capital with whichever degree you decide to take here. And your skills are the things you're learning in the classroom and as part of your degree, but they are also the sum of your experience, so the places that you've worked and the kinds of things that you've done along the way. And of course, your CV is a summary of all your human capital. But people also accumulate other kinds of capital. They accumulate, for instance, economic capital, financial capital. If you have savings in the bank, then that's a form of capital. And if you bought your house, or you've invested in stocks or shares, this is all economic capital. But economic capital, while it's the capital that most people think about when they think about accumulating capital, it's very obvious, it's very tangible, it's something you can easily measure, but there is another form of capital that is incredibly important in your life, over and above your human capital and your economic capital, and that is your social capital. I want to dwell a little bit on this today, and then I want to show you why it's so important that the relationships that your staff have when you're managing people is something that you should understand, and why you should understand it, and how you should go about managing if you have that information. So let's start with social capital then. Social capital is the relationships that you have. Actually, it's the value of the relationships that you have. And we know from a lot of academic work that's been done that the relationships you have are incredibly valuable, but they are probably not even as valuable as the relationships of the people who you have relationships with. So what we call your weak ties, people that you don't know that well. So the people that you do know that well form your immediate social capital, but the people that you meet through those first line of people, or the people that you just meet coincidentally in other parts of your life, these are your weak ties, and actually all the literature shows that these are amongst some of the most valuable connections that you will make. Somebody called Oliver Williamson wrote a very famous paper in 1976 called The Strength of Weak Ties, in which he showed that actually the people you don't know that well are sources of much more information, and in fact potentially much more innovation than the people that you know incredibly well. So we should all go out and develop some more weak ties. But for today, I just want to look at one situation about management, and the management of people knowing that they have relationships with others in your company. So I'm going to use for that a case study that was written nearly 30 years ago in 1993, and this is called the California Computer Case Study. Obviously California Computer is not a real name, but this was a case study written about a real company that was called California Computer for the purpose of anonymization in the case study. So let's start by looking at California Computer's organogram, i.e. its organizational structure. And you can see from this is a very standard organizational structure. There are 4 divisions. The CEO is a man called Mr. Lears, and he has 4 divisions that report to him. Each of them have a leader, and he needs to choose somebody for a major strategic project. Now, this project is going to be something that takes the company forward, and it needs somebody who will be able to carry the whole company with them and, enable change and get the company to do something slightly different as a whole. So it's really important to pick the right person. Now, he decides to pick Mr. Harris. Now, Harris is a chap who, you can see from the diagram, is leading one of the 4 divisions that reports to Lears. So he must have known Harris well. He thought he would be a good person to do this project. And he already leads, of course, a large number of people in the company, so it would be an obvious place to start. And the question that I have for you in this lecture today is, was Harris a good choice? Was he the right person to choose? And how can we know that? What can we do to even see if we can find it out? Well, in this case, Mr. Lears had mapped the relationships inside his company. He had actually mapped the what we call the trust network and the advice network. Now, networks of people are absolutely vital to everything. They're vital inside a company and they're vital outside a company. But this one we're looking at today is one inside a company. So what we need to do first of all is let's look at the advice network. Now, this is a network of people inside the company where everybody in the company has been asked the question, who do you go to for advice about a work-related matter? Now, you can see from the answer in this diagram that lots of people did actually go to Harris for advice. So it's quite possible that he is a good person. He's obviously somebody that people respect for his knowledge of the company and his technical knowledge, which is why they go to him for advice in a work-related situation. So far, so good. Harris is looking like the right chap for the job. Of course, there are other people that people go to for advice, as you can see from this diagram. Unsurprisingly, one of them is the CEO himself, Lears. But there are also several other people that people go to for advice, one of which is Harris. But let's have a look at a different network inside the company, and this is the trust network. So this was everybody in the company being asked, who do you trust in the company? And this time they had slightly different answers, as you can see. So only one person in the whole company trusted Harris. So he was clearly not somebody trusted by the company. And in those circumstances, do you think he would really be able to affect change? So seeing that this was the case, yes, people did go to him for advice, but they didn't trust him. So was he likely to be the right person to lead this company through major strategic change? And this is the difference in the information that the CEO, Lears, had. He wasn't just looking at the structural diagram of the company. He was also looking at who trusted who and who went to who for advice. And in the end, the person he chose was actually Benson, because Benson was somebody that people went to for advice, but he was also somebody that people trusted. And if you're going to have somebody lead a major strategic project, then it's almost certainly a better idea to have somebody who is not only respected for their knowledge, but also trusted by the staff. So understanding the network of relationships within your company is just as important as understanding the organogram. And if you're looking for agents of change, if you're looking for people to champion things, if you're looking to disseminate knowledge as quickly as possible and to inform change as fast as possible, then you need a bit more information about the people in your company than just who reports to who. And that can be measured. You can measure social capital, you can measure networks. There are ways of measuring it. There are also ways of illustrating it, like in these diagrams. And it's another possibility for somebody to understand this when they're making up their minds about a key decision. So I would encourage all of you, A, to think about yourselves, your own skills capital, which we hope you will increase if you come to Heriot-Watt or wherever you choose to study. Obviously your own economic capital, I'm sure everyone will be focused on that, but your social capital. Are you going to build relationships with the people that matter? And are you going to engender their trust and their respect? Because that's going to be something that's incredibly important as you grow and develop as a leader. And here at Edinburgh Business School, we're looking to develop tomorrow's leaders for tomorrow's markets. And it's really important to us that everybody has the latest in management thinking. Now, I might be using a 30-year-old case study, but I am using very, very up-to-date research behind it in terms of why social capital is important and how it can affect change. So I would encourage all of you to think about that as you're managing people, whether you understand the networks in the people that you are managing, and once you understand them, how to use it to best effect. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this bite-sized lecture from me on social capital and the management of teams, and we hope to see you at Heriot-Watt University.